we live in and share together, Australia. Councillors, we have one apology today from the Mayor, Paul Simmons. Acknowledgements. Are there any acknowledgements from councillors? There being none, we'll move on. Councillor Arthur?
Yeah, I'd just like to congratulate the Lions Club once again on their bull show and fair. It's a great day, and a lot of people there, and 40 odd sideshows and food stalls and everything there. So there was a big increase, and they've got people wanting to come all the time now. So it's a very good day, and of course they got the community together.
It was a fantastic day in Tintinara, and they also won the Event of the Year award for the previous year's fair, and this one was better. So, and I think they had over 10 people pull out of showing due to the weather and other factors, and it was still a fantastic environment. So, look forward to seeing next year. Any other acknowledgements? Councillors, I'll move on to item 3. Are there any declarations of the conflict of interest? There are none. Confirmation of the minutes of the ordinary meeting held on the 21st of April 2026 and the special meeting, including the confidential minutes held on the 5th of May 2026. Are there any corrections to those minutes? I have a move for those minutes to be adopted, both. Councillor Roundtree has moved. Seconded, Councillor Bland. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Motion is carried unanimously. There is no adjourned business. Moving on to the reports from members. Councillors, there are 2 reports, one from myself and one from Councillor Roundtree. Are there any questions of those reports? There being none, move on to petitions. We have none, and it would appear we have no deputations today, or no public questions, unless I'm missing something. We'll move on to our decision reports. Councillors, the first decision report is 10.1, revocation of motion 102-26. By way of introduction to this motion, we were not the only ones that misunderstood the intent of the state government. I'll note that the former Minister for Local Government actually asked this question in the chamber, and a number of other councils, including every other council in the MRLGA, had understood it the same way we had. But we have now received notice that it only affects state roads.
Yeah, but that doesn't stop. I mean, who's going to stop them going on the council roads?
How do they get onto the state roads?
Yeah, exactly.
Excellent point, and you may wish to vary the motion.
They've allowed them to pull extra trailers and that. Now, if they think they're going to pull up at the council road, they need to think again.
I'll pass to the acting interim CEO.
So the heart of this, though, is that there's a motion on the table that can't effectively be carried out because it's null and void. I probably would prefer if it's revoked and, if necessary, a new motion be put forward. Would that be your will?
Councillor Roundtree.
I'm happy to move that it is revoked so we can move on to the next part that probably will address the other councillors' concerns.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Maidment. Councillor Roundtree, you have the call.
I thought the explanation was fair and reasonable, notwithstanding the comments from Councillor O'Hara and Councillor Arthur. I think we need to somehow get words that address those concerns, but I think for the purposes of what the CEO is talking about, it's appropriate to remove it.
Thank you, Councillor
Nothing
Maidment.
further to add to that. Thank you.
Any further councillors wish to speak?
Yeah, I believe that the motion is completely incorrect, because although it is for DIT roads, that's going to make no difference to all the council roads that are going to be used by those vehicles to get onto DIT roads. Now, DIT are the main thorough through. It's all the service roads which are council's responsibility. And that's where most of it's going to go.
So I
I can't agree with that.
I have a motion for revocation at the moment. I will accept a motion without notice immediately after this, as it deals with as it's relevant to the decision report. So the motion to revoke is moved and seconded. I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Those against? Councillor Arthur voted against. Voting for the motion was councillors Coleman, Roundtree, Maidment, O'Hara and Bland. Now, councillors, I've had an indication that there may be a motion without notice. Councillor Roundtree.
So I think we can almost have the same wording, except for where it comes to where it says that the lack of consultation, we don't really need to say that anymore. But what we are looking for is an explanation and compensation for any damage done to council roads due to this decision by the state government. Or something along those lines.
So
The words.
just wait for some words to appear.
Emphasising our concern.
Yeah.
And how it's going to be policed.
Yeah, how an explanation as to how it will be monitored, policed, and what compensation councils can expect to receive for inevitable damage to our roads.
Well done.
Okay, so we'll just wait for those words to come up.
I don't want to forget them as soon as I say them.
Other line.
Still expressing disappointment, lack of consultation. Hmm.
Requesting compensation from the inevitable damage
Damage
caused.
So something like we want an explanation about the process, how it will be, how roads will be monitored, and compensation for the inevitable damage.
Regarding monitoring and policing.
Monitoring policing, that's good. Yeah.
Acknowledging that most freight originates away from state roads.
Yeah, good point.
Okay, councillors, there is a motion on the screen moved by councillor Roundtree. Councillor Roundtree, are you happy with that capturing your intent?
And that council rights to the Assembly Minister.
Damage. Damage. Damage.
So maybe it probably should be for compensation for the inevitable damage
Yep.
caused to council roads, including an explanation regarding.
Not including an explanation.
Yeah. Regarding monitoring of policing activities. Yeah, that's pretty good. I think that sums it up.
I
Something there.
suggest after heavy vehicle movements,
Usage,
usage.
road usage maybe. I don't know. Sorry to butt in.
Okay, so there's a motion on the screen. Councillor Roundtree, you're happy?
Yep.
Do I have a second of that motion? You, councillor Corman. Councillor Roundtree, you have the call.
Do we need, actually, that's a good point. Do we need the lack of consultation in there?
Yeah, I think that's part of the problem.
Okay,
Yep.
leave it in.
Okay, councillor Roundtree, you have the call.
Closed.
I haven't. Oh, I've seconded
Coleman? Oh, you can't close just yet. I haven't asked. Councillor Coleman, you have the
Oh,
call.
sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No, I totally agree with it, and making the point that the inevitable damages, even though they go me a dip tire, we have concerns they're going to be onto our assets and cause unnecessary damage. And I think that it emphasises our concerns pretty well now. Thank you.
Do any other councillors? Councillor Bland?
I just have a question in relation to whether we're taking this far enough and that should we not be sending it also through to MRLGA and LGA, which has potential
So
further if need be.
MRLGA have a motion passed that I put forward that would actually still be captured by this,
Right.
that they advocate on behalf of the region around this. So I would think, unless I'm hearing differently from the interim CEO, that this motion would actually still enable that advocacy to go forward. I did put that forward at the last MRLGA meeting.
Okay, so they won't necessarily go back on anything.
So
Okay, thank you. Just clarify.
it wasn't in relation to specifically this motion, it was to the broader theme of lack of consultation and impact on council roads, which I think this new motion now captures quite thoroughly.
Okay.
Any other councillors wish to speak? Councillor Roundtree, you'll close.
Closed.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour?
I've got a seconder. Oh, yeah,
Councillor
you just
Gordon.
put it in there, righto. You
Oh, I-
looking.
Sorry, did we get that wrong?
No, Councillor Mayman moved
did
the
put my hand up, but
seconded the
enough.
revocation motion.
Yep.
Councillor Coleman seconded the motion
Okay.
without notice.
Good, thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Roundtree, you've closed. I'll put the motion again. All those in favour? The motion is carried unanimously. Moving on to decision report number 2, leave of absence for the mayor. There is a recommendation. I did speak to the mayor last night. The recommendation is to extend that leave for till June 2026. Councillor Bland?
I'm happy to move that.
Councillor Bland's moving. Is there a seconder? Councillor O'Hara? Councillor Bland,
Closed.
close. Councillor O'Hara? Any other? Councillor Mayman?
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I have a question in regards to this. How much longer before this position comes vacant with the extended leave? Because it's 6 months already.
The short answer to that is
Curious.
that it doesn't, while leave is continued to be granted by the chamber. The trigger in the act is for 3 months leave without leave being granted.
Okay,
So when leave is granted, it resets the clock.
thank you.
Councillor Coleman? did you-
Oh, I was just going to say, of course, we've got the elections coming up,
Fairly-
nominations in August and the new council in November, so it's quickly shortening.
It is.
Any other councillors wishing to debate? Councillor Bland, you'll close.
Closed.
Motion, all those in favour? Motion is carried unanimously. Decision report 10.3. Councillors, are there any questions for administration before we progress? Councillor Roundtree.
Yeah, so my questions is when I was reading it, with regards to say priority area 1 and sections 2 and 3, what is the difference? I couldn't see what the difference between some of these items were. And in fact, 2, 3, 4 and 5 sort of effectively say the same thing. I'm just wondering why they're separated out. Was there a reason for that?
CEO.
Now, I do have Kelly at the back, but I believe there's a standard process in terms of reporting. So there's effectively the state, the Disability Access and Inclusion Plan develops a framework against all councils, so there's consistent reporting. And it's not unusual to find the same item being relevant to various different priority areas.
Well, these ones are like priority area 1, and it's just got number 2 says we will establish and implement an internal procedure to ensure all council managed or hosted events and activities for 50 or more people and implement best practice event management principles. 3 says we will establish and implement an internal procedure for consideration around all council managed or hosted events and activities of 50 or less people, implement best practice event management principles. It says almost exactly the same thing. I couldn't tell what the difference was, and I was wondering whether I was missing something.
Sorry, I'm just wondering through you, Mr.
Councillor Bland.
Mayor, is that it's a couple of the key words, like one is establish, one is implement. And it
They both say establish and implement.
yeah,
Ellie, could you please
one
come up
actually
to
means one on the other.
Mount,
Anyway.
please.
That's
One's
interpretation
50
by
or
me,
more,
but
one's 50 or
I'd
less.
say 50.
No, but or less.
50 or more,
One says or
50,
more,
yeah, 50 or
less.
more, 50 or less. So that's the key.
That is the difference.
I might just go to comment from Kelly, you
Right,
have the call.
okay.
So through you, Acting Mayor, so one is below 50 and one is above 50. So some of the protocol and some of the practices that would be applied to those sorts of events and activities will probably have some slight differences attached to those. So we could use an event contained here in the chamber as an example of one being under 50 and an event being held in the town hall as one being over 50. There will be some slight differences in the way those events are managed and contained. Correct in terms of undertaking the relevant review and implementation of those processes, probably almost identical with some subtle differences. But again, it is a reference back to what the state government has requested, is that we look at smaller groups and larger groups at the same
Okay,
time.
thank you for that explanation. That makes sense. And the only other question was, with regards to priority area 2, what is universal design training? What does that mean?
I will go to Kelly.
I quite have
Interest
to
there.
answer that because it's probably a little bit more up my alley. Universal design. So when we're undertaking a project, i.e. The streetscape project and design, we need to design for all types of abilities. So it won't just be looking at the traditional, wheelchair user or disabled, physically disabled person. We'll also look at issues such as autism and dementia. So you try to design as much as possible so that the ability to use an area is universal. It's for everyone. So that's the principle, the basic principle of universal design.
So let's say through staff then trained in
Yes.
this.
It's
So you say
applied
there's
to-
no cost to do that training, but except staff.
Well, it would be included with our regular training.
Yeah.
So I expect all of our people involved in design projects, construction activity, would understand the principles of universal design and be able to apply it, especially in the earlier stages of a project.
Thank you. That's my 2 questions.
Any other councillors with questions? Thank you, councillor Maben.
Thank you, pardon me, thank you, Acting Mayor, and through you. We don't have a definition of a disability. Do we need to include that, or are we not allowed to include that?
Kelly?
Because they do vary.
So through the Acting Mayor, in the Disability Access and Inclusion Plan itself, you will find that there is quite a clear definition on what disability is. And I do hope that there is a link to that plan. If not, I can extract that and I'll email it to the chamber if
We
you wish.
don't need, should that be noted in this?
No,
plan?
this is just a progress report. So these are the actions that are contained within the plan.
Yeah. Ooh, do I sound like that?
I think that was the live stream of the council.
That was like.
Repeating itself. Thank you.
Thank
Councillor Maben, does that answer your question?
It does, yeah. I
Thank you.
do have another one. There's
Go for it.
pretty sketchy on costs. There's not a lot of mention of costs of things. It's all to be classified or to be sorted, and that's that's a bit hard to.
I might deal with that.
Interim CEO has the call.
The way we've dealt with some of the costs is to ensure that we're writing into, especially our buildings programs, building works program, some activities that respond to priorities for especially disabled access. As you see with the front doors here, we don't have a lot of money that we put towards this, unfortunately. I could easily, spend another $1 million and fix up a whole lot of things that I think, need to be fixed up. But there is a rule that where you do new work and requires a development application, that then you upgrade to full disability access, which is an example would be the work being undertaken at the Tintinara Town Hall. So that's the practical way that we approach it. We try to use the money that we already have within the budget.
Yep.
And, we might try to stretch it a little bit further so that, yeah, we're putting in appropriate design and responses for disabled people.
Thank you.
So further on, I do have
At the
to
moment.
think further on to that, given that the scope of this plan is pretty broad, are we likely to need $1 million to incorporate all of this down the track, given the state government push for this legislation to get it up and
The
running?
answer is no.
No?
The
Okay.
answer is no, because one thing that the Act does recognise and the state does recognise is that councils aren't flush with funds, especially the regional councils, to voluntarily improve facilities and the like. So again, you get back to that rule that if you're undertaking work, new work, or you're designing work, that you need to incorporate the appropriate standards. But you don't have to retrospectively go out there voluntarily upgrade everything. An example would be over here at the town hall. The toilets out at the town hall are on our list of things to be done, but legally we don't have to do them.
Okay.
It'll be a choice of council. We'd like to be able to say these are a few priorities, and if council has capacity in the future to be able to do that work, or if council chooses to undertake some modifications in the town hall, it might trigger the requirements too. That is the approach. It's a practical approach.
Yep.
you.
And my final thing
Councillor Moment.
is a comment. There were 11 grammatical errors in this progress report, which I'm not going to go through now. I've already given the list to Ashley and she's sorted that. If you're using AI, please check the American spelling to the Australian one. That's my general comment. Thank
I'll
you.
take that as a comment. Are there any further questions to the report? There's a recommendation, councillors. Do I have a movement? Councillor Roundtree, second to Councillor Bland. Councillor Roundtree, you have the call.
Nothing further to add?
Councillor Bland.
No, nothing further.
Thank you. Any other councillors wish to enter debate? The motion, all in favour? Motion is carried unanimously. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Emily. Councillors, moving on to decision report 10.4, the Tailem and Bend Community Centre funding request. Councillors, we've had a workshop on this. There are 3 options in the recommendations. Are there any questions before we deal with the recommendations? Councillors, I'm in your hands regarding the recommendations.
I'll move option 1.
Councillor Arthur is moving option 1. I've got a seconder from Councillor O'Hara. Councillor Arthur, you have the call.
I think it's expressed our view at the present moment. Money is tight. We've had one of the largest rate increases in the area, if not South Australia. I don't think we put in any sort of burden on the ratepayers at this stage. We will, as it says, we will support them, but not financially, because I don't think we are available to do that at the present moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor O'Hara.
Yeah, I haven't got much to say, just I think we put enough support into them for our position at the moment, so.
Any other councillors wish to enter debate? Councillor Coleman, you have the call.
I just want to ask a question, or shall I say a favour. Unfortunately, I was ill during that workshop. Could someone enlighten me what their points by the key speaker was by the CEO, or was that a bit hard? What was their drive?
I'll go to the CEO.
Sorry, Miles, but
No, absolutely. I forgot, Councillor Coleman, that you were sick, and maybe I should have had a chat to you before the meeting. So essentially, the demand for community transport is increasing, and we're seeing that naturally occur, but also increase during the current fuel crisis. And also the service is expanding. The Tailem Bend Community Centre's service area is expanding. So Tammy Shepherd did speak to the elected members And effectively, and some follow up just to when elected members went to the community centre last year, and this topic was raised that there may be a request come through for a vehicle. So essentially, a vehicle, either a vehicle being provided by council for use by the community centre, or a per annum dollar amount for 5 years, which would allow them to buy and run a vehicle. And so there's a good amount of questions and exploration by elected members at that meeting. And then that culminated with some clarity in terms of the dollars, some clarity in terms of the options. So there was an option there for council to retain the ownership and acquire it through our own asset management plan and fleet purchase. But as this report says, if that was the case, we'd actually be foregoing a piece of fleet that we would have planned to acquire in 2027. So that's why you see the three options there. Any of the other elected members want to add to that? That in essence is what occurred.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Bland, you have the call.
Yes, look, I'm going to support option 1. And I understand that this transport scheme provides an excellent service across our district and many other districts. The problem that I see it is that it negates the need for both state, federal, particularly federal government, to support this service even further the more we step in to take over the role. It will be left to us yet again to pick up what is being negated elsewhere. We know where the lion's share of the money goes. Tammy was very clear about that. And we need to ensure that everybody else pays their fair share. I do believe over many years this council has supported the transport scheme particularly well. And I don't think we're saying that we don't want to support it. We're just not in a position to.
Thank you. Any other councillors wish to enter debate? Councillor Roundtree, you have the call.
Yeah, thank you. I was originally of the view that maybe a car, but I just don't think our council is in that position to do that at the moment, and taking into consideration the other factors that were raised in the report, I just think it would be more sensible for us at this time to just stick with option 1.
Councillor Coleman.
Now I may say comment. Thank you. And I'll put some more in my head. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I was looking at option 2, and then but more I've been reading and more I've been taking on board the financial implications we've been experiencing from the world events and everything, and we've had to do some deferrals, and we had to do carry-ons, adjustments, and there's a few other items in the agenda, Mr. Mayor and members, that I think too we've got to seriously look at, because we're putting a lot of pressure under our trying to keep our long-term financial plan on track, and I'd love to help them out, but we must remember, members, we're already the peppercorn lease of a very valuable building, which belongs to council, and also the assistance we gain in purchasing the Station Master's house, and of course a rate rebate. So when you look at that, that runs into a quite substantial amount of money that we are saving on their behalf, and in kind, I suppose you could say, to a degree. So I think if we were in a better financial position, I'd go with option 2, but I'm afraid I don't feel we are. So I'm going to go for option 1. Thank you.
Thank you. I will just note here that in addition to the transport issue we discussed at a previous motion, I did put a motion forward at the MRLGA meeting a fortnight ago regarding this issue and regarding inaction on behalf of other organisations that are in this space. Councillor Arthur, you'll close?
I'll close.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour? The motion is carried unanimously. Decision report 10.5, Murray River Lakes and Coorong Tourism Alliance Funding Agreement Extension. Councillors, any questions? Or Councillor Bland, you have the
Can
call.
I ask that we suspend to discuss this for 5 minutes?
I will suspend meeting procedures at 10:30 to recommence at 10:35. Councillor Bland?
through you, Mr Mayor, I just would like a little bit more verbal support. There's a lot of documentation here on what the Coorong Council sees it actually is delivered to us. Now, we have got Motorsport Park, we understand that. They also have a much bigger budget. We also have the Coorong, but not many services in the area. What actually do we physically receive for that money?
Thank you. Interim CEO, this call.
I might ask Kelly, if you could ask
Kelly, if you could come to the
the-
microphone.
the expert.
Thank you. Murray River Lakes and Coorong Tourism Alliance has been in its current form since about 2016, and they are a regional tourism authority. They play quite strongly in various areas, including marketing and promotion, building industry capacity, and how does that directly relate to what happens in our region? We may not see it directly here, but there are training opportunities for tourism operators to attend and build their capacity. There's opportunities for those businesses to be involved in statewide and Australia-wide marketing and promotions. And it's not only just the businesses and industries themselves, but it's actually around those non-commercial assets. So it is the likes of the Coorong, it is, you know, the national parks that we have across the area. It's all of those uncommercialised assets that encourage people to come along and experience our region. We do acknowledge and identify that two of our biggest assets that we have in the region are the Coorong and the Bend Motorsport Park. Now, they in their own rights do have some form of identity out there in the tourism world, but it's not necessarily those tourists that we are looking at attracting. So through the Murray River Lakes and Coorong Alliance, they are a layer that sits between council and between the state government. They are the conduit between council and the state government. We would not be able to deliver or act on some of the tourism opportunities if we weren't involved in this organisation, because we do not have a dedicated tourism officer here within the organisation.
Thank you, Councillor Roundtree.
Thank you. Now I've got a few questions, clarifications and whatever. So a bit like Councillor Bland, what are the clear measurable evidence do we have that MRL CTA has generally built industry capability and delivered trade outcomes here in the Coorong? It's not clear how we can access Coorong specific visitation and expenditure data. So far, what they're presenting is the regional figures that include Murray Bridge, Flugo and Riverland, which are very tourism profiles to ours, and without anything localised to us, it's very difficult to make an informed decision on this one. The broader concerns I have is that the Coorong is always asked to contribute funding, simply because of its geographical location and I think its name, yet direct demonstrated benefit region is never really clearly articulated in some of these funding requests, and it bothers me and it always will. And even though it's modest, it's, you know, 30, sometimes it's 30,000 here or 40,000 there. When these are viewed cumulatively, we could deliver other things to our constituents with that money that would have better outcomes. So the report used broadly terms like destination management. There was words like tourism product development. And my question would be was, how does that differ from the role already undertaken by the South Australian Tourism Commission? Can we see examples of domestic and international marketing campaigns, who they target and how regions like the Coorong are represented? What does industry engagement and capacity building look like on the ground for local operators? I think we use these motherhood statements without giving any real evidence. And I also, being involved in exporting and all of that myself, there are already well-established organisations who do deliver work to businesses like mine, and that's Austrade, TradeStart. We've got the Department of State Development South Australia, Trade and Investment, Export Finance Australia, Business SA, Australian Industry Group, the Chamber of Commerce and Industry of South Australia, Food SA. And these groups actually help them export. So I fail to see this appears to be just another layer. And does it actually, like, would it help me? Would I be able to do anything with it? Probably not, because there's a plethora of other businesses that are in that space that can actually do stuff. The report went on to say that the KPIs were met or exceeded with clear benefits for industry development, visitation growth, and the positioning on Coorong assets within the wider regional tourism narrative. I had a look at the SATAC site. Coorong, the Limestone Coast in Coorong is actually quite well promoted just through the South Australian Tourism Commission on its own without this group. Like, we actually have the booklets, you could go to SATAC and find information about all the things to do in the Coorong. It seems, to me, it just seemed like a double up. And I think because of our financial pressures and rising costs, that we have a responsibility to ensure that every dollar spent delivers a clear and direct benefit to ratepayers. And then I went on to have a look at their website and wrote down 38 different businesses, removing the ones that say Coorong that are actually based in Hindmarsh Island and in the Alexandrina Council. There's a lot of double ups. And nearly all of these can be found in other places. So I get that there is help, but I also am very curious about why we would do this. I also note that the MRL CTA have just advertised for a regional tourism manager for between $95,000 to $110,000. So that's probably where a lot of money goes for this person as well. But my final question is, if council chose not to continue this funding, would the South Australian Tourism Commission continue to support the MRL CTA? And if so, what impact would that have on the organisation's operations?
That's a lot to take on board.
It is. Send it all to you.
That's fine.
Spent a lot of time on this one.
So there's a number of questions in there.
Yeah.
I'll go to Kelly to answer what you can, and then I'll go to the interim CEO.
I think first and foremost, Murray River Lakes and Coorong Alliance, there are 12 tourism regions across the state. I'm not aware of any local government entity that does not contribute to tourism as a key economic driver through their regional tourism bodies. What impact would it have? I'm going to say potentially significant. The benefits that we receive are quite huge. So when you look at the tourism guide and all of the information and the content that is put in there, it's a co-contribution that we work with our regional tourism managers to ensure that our region is represented quite strongly. I acknowledge that the Coorong itself does have its own unique challenges, which we have addressed in the Coorong Visitor Experience Master Plan. In the background, there is a lot that's happening in tourism that I really don't want to bring to the table yet, because it's only going to confuse the conversation that we're having at the moment. What does the South Australian Tourism Commission do? In all honesty, they're a marketing arm, right? They are not product development. They do not build industry capacity. So the South Australian Tourism Commission basically just promote the state. And they promote the state and then they promote the sub-regions. In order for them to promote the sub-regions, that information is made available through the regional tourism entities. In terms of duplications on those websites, it's actually not fed down from the South Australian Tourism Commission, it's actually fed up from the regional space. There's a product called the Australian Tourism Data Warehouse, which is an online portal that businesses and industries that are in tourism can list themselves and load a little bit of content. And it's a distribution arm, and that will then distribute information to other websites. And I think there's over 200 different websites in which that information can get through to.
Kelly, just on that point, that businesses can go to the ATWD
Correct,
website.
yes.
Just their businesses. If we didn't fund the MRLC, would that prevent those businesses from using that website?
Question. The South Australian Tourism Commission actually funds that. In other states, they don't fund it, so individuals are responsible for paying for their own listings.
Contribution.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I can't answer that. It's a product that they make available free to tourism industries and businesses across the region. The trick is then how do they list themselves and how do they market themselves? So then that regional tourism manager's role is to come in and assist that. It's a big role. It's a strategic role and it's both an administration role as well. The reason they have advertising for a new regional tourism manager is because the current one has decided to resign. She has resigned on top of the fact that the South Australian Tourism Commission are currently doing a review. That review has been happening for 2 years now, and there is, I don't want to say there's uncertainty. The direction in which the South Australian Tourism Commission are taking is that there is more governance going to be directed by the South Australian Tourism Commission. And I'm not sure that it's a direction that we would like to take from council's perspective. As a key stakeholder and an investor in regional tourism, we want to have some skin in the game and be able to provide some very strong and clear direction on what we want as a region and as a representative of as our tourism operators on how we want to be seen, how we want to be perceived, and how we would like to attract and retain visitors to the region.
Thank you. I'll just note we are still suspended. We've gone past my time estimate, but we remain suspended. Discussion. Councillor Qualman.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just like the previous number 4 on the decision making. Yes, it sounds all right, but again, I have concerns with our financial position. I think I won't be supporting this. I think it is a double layer. It's SA Tourism Commission can do some work for us, and I think we've got more important things to do at the moment is just to keep our asset renewal online, and another 25,000, and we just saved 30,000 on the previous one, so we're nudging 50,000, so we'll keep going, hopefully. So no, I'm not supporting it.
Councillor Bland.
I'm probably not that hard-nosed yet, but I do think that I would like to see this held over and have SATC and the region talk to us. I know they're looking at I would actually like to, Kelly's put up some markers, basically, which I want to know what that's going to potentially look like before we commit. But also we're about to get a new CEO in this region, Murraylands, Riverland, Coorong. And I've heard them talk before, and we do hear a lot of very good words. You need to be a very proactive small business to be able to enter into that market easily. And when you're actually the worker and business manager, sometimes that's not so easy to do. So I want to know how they help them and deliver a little bit more. I know a little bit about it, but I also know that the smaller businesses struggle, and certainly any startups would struggle. It's okay if you're a bit bigger and you know, and love the Dark Sky event, et cetera, but it's now up and running and doing really well from an international point of view. Now, I will say that all of our area needs throughput of locals, visitors, whether it be state, national or international, to keep our small businesses functioning satisfactorily, not just our tourism businesses. So whether it's the local coffee shop, the butcher with the caravan, people coming through, I don't mind whoever gets that dollar, but we know we struggle if we don't get some of those dollars. Whether this is the reasonable way to do it, I'm just not convinced yet.
Thank you, Councillor Bland. Any other councillors wish to enter discussion? Councillor Arthur and then Councillor Maiden.
I've actually attended a few of these meetings, and they were quite informative, actually, that I didn't realise the depth and the area that they covered. You know, they're not just a you know, take our money and we don't do anything. They do workshops. I went to one of which was a workshop where they had some, what I would say were probably very small businesses, or mum and dad businesses, and they went through with them about how they get advertised and how they get grants and the whole works. So they're not just taking the money and not emphasising. They emphasise the whole area. I think that's the problem. You know, if we want to take it on ourselves, we're going to, and I'll get back to this question. You can tell me what the Coorong is. What's the Coorong? It's an area, you know, like you asked, the southeast is where they go fishing on the beach. If you ask some of the others, or, you know, lakes, so they cover all of that, and they've always got ads on all over the place, you know, on the stuff I don't understand, the IT stuff. But I think, to be quite honest with you, how I feel about a lot of things. I think this is one of the mobs that same as wildlife, where we do get value. We do get value out of what we put in.
Thanks, councillor Arthur. Councillor Moment.
Yes, thank you. I just have a question. Why have different councils got different amounts they pay?
Based on their rate base and their size.
So one subsidise someone else because of the amount of ratepayers.
Yeah, so you'll find that rural city of Murray Bridge, because it's a larger council area, pays a greater portion.
Yeah.
Coorong and Mid Murray are very similar in what their contributions, and then, you know, places like Karoonda and Southern Mallee are a lot smaller too.
Yeah, well, I think ratepayer base is similar to us, aren't they? Southern Mallee.
Yep.
Well, they only pay 4,000. Why do we pay 28?
No, we're significantly bigger. I would argue that Mid Murray is a bit bigger than us, and Alexandrina is definitely bigger than us.
Oh yeah,
So when
I don't doubt that
Yeah,
at
we're
all.
all paying 25 or 26.
Yeah.
I actually think there might be an argument for Coorong to be, you know, maybe 20, 18.
Well,
but
that's my
they've got a
question.
formula.
You know,
They're
I
probably
think
cheap.
a lot of these tourism sites, such as the Bend and the Coorong that keeps getting mentioned, they advertise themselves now. I agree with Councillor Coleman about the money. If we could drop it to 18 or 15, I'd be a lot happier passing it, to be honest.
Kelly, comment?
I do want to make a comment. You may recall a few years ago, we did have a full-time tourism development officer, and she did an incredible amount of work with our businesses and industries, and we don't have that anymore. So when you're talking about the mums and dads and the smaller operators that do need the help in terms of building business capacity and assisting them with product development and, you know, promoting them collectively as a region, I think, you know, our value is certainly outweighs what our investment is in that space.
You could argue, mums and dads, that most people now have a home computer. They know how to set up their own website for free. They can promote their own businesses a lot easier than they could 10 years ago. So there's that as well. I'm not saying that these group isn't valuable. I just think what we pay is too much.
Okay, councillors, I'm going to go to Councillor O'Hara because he's the only one that hasn't entered the discussion.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yeah, I just feel we need to, I agree with we're short of money and that, but we need to be a bit careful what we cut. I think tourism is a very big part of our council area, and these people in small business do need somewhere to go for information and for help, and that is what this supplies. And yeah, I just worry about it. If we cut off all that sort of stuff, we finish up with nothing, you know, and we don't want that's the last thing we want to see is tourism cut. And you know, the figures here, a lot of people come through our district. It's enormous. So, and those businesses need that help, I believe.
Thank you, Councillor. Very short from
Thank you, Mayor. I think what would make this easier is if we could have some concrete data that just shows, or just data for our region. I mean, instead of being bundled with everybody else, if they want $30,000 to be able to provide some specific data from, would be fabulous. Even to speak to the people on that have listed their names on the website to say, you know, how have you found it? Just to get something to come back to us and say, this is where it works. In relation to what Councillor O'Hara just said, there are so many. I do exporting and I do this market development and product development stuff, and I've been doing it for 25 years. I've never worked with this group to achieve any of that. I have, however, worked with nearly all those ones I mentioned before. And so it's not as though these mums and dads out there that have got these businesses don't have any other resource available to them. Austrade are always there. Like there's all manner, Business SA, Food SA. There's like a stack of those companies that have an enormous amount of information to share. So they're not going to be abandoned altogether. I take on board the point that Councillor Arthur Mayes, and I really value your input there, Kelly. It was very helpful to understand that. I just think for $30,000, it would have been great to have this, like the decision we made before when another group wanted money from us and we wanted to see the benefit to the Coorong exactly. What do our people get? And I just don't think that was given to us in this report. It was very broad.
Right, thank you. A number of different views expressed here. I'm just going to note that the last time this came up, we had a very similar conversation and they were asked to provide data, which they have not done.
Sure.
So I think as feedback to them would go, I don't think that they've actually provided what we asked for last time around.
I'll comment on that. So localised data is not available. So local data is not collected. The Australian Tourism, who are they? Australian Tourism Research are the entity that collect the data itself. South Australian Tourism Commission stopped collecting data about 12 years ago. There are ways and means that we as an organisation can collect data, which would be based on credit card transactions. However, in order for us to access that information, there would be additional costs to council. The data that they are collecting and providing is from the South Australian Tourism Commission, and there's nothing that we can grab from a local level. We are proposing to do a visitor servicing review late next year, which will engage business and industries in the tourism sector. We can have those conversations with them about how we can determine the data that's coming into the region. But again, I think it's a more of a either credit card transactions. Can we see what's happening in those spaces? Who's staying where? Who's doing what? Can we reach out at a local level? But unfortunately, I'm not sure we're going to be able to get any local data.
Right, thank you, councillors. I'm going to resume meeting procedures at 10:53. Thank you, Kelly. Councillors, I'm in your hands to how you wish to proceed. There is a recommendation, but we have heard divergent views.
I have a question.
Councillor Bland.
And that is, and it was suggested before by another councillor, and that is, are we unable to adjust the figure? And sorry, it was our acting CEO who mentioned an alternative figure.
We could.
Whether or not we can have that conversation before we pass any motions.
So
The interim CEO has a call.
through the chair, you certainly could challenge the figure and
Through-
challenge the basis upon what how the figure is calculated. However, I think at this stage, you know, those amounts are set by the alliance. I certainly would, you know, be open to challenging it because it does stand out to me. I'd like to understand why Alexandrina pays the same as Coorong. I will note that this is not dissimilar to the conversation council had about with the RDA-MR relationship. It's very similar. And so within the CVP, we've got a goal there with the new chamber to review the relationship, review the value derived from the expenditure. And I think that's what the conversation you've had today. So you do have the ability to, couple of things you could do. You could ask for that further information so that this chamber could deal with this particular request. You could consider this request and allow for the new chamber to look more strategically at the ongoing relationship and the provision of services in the tourism space, because this conversation reminds me of last Wednesday night when we were at Meningie, and there was a person there who challenged council's expenditure in tourism, and the elected members, all the elected members present, responded very passionately about the importance of investing in and continuing to invest in tourism. So I was very much reminded about your passion. But I do understand that passion isn't the only thing. You want also to see the justification of the ratepayers' expense.
Thank you. Councillors, I'm in your hands. There is a recommendation. I don't have a motion.
Can I just follow up on the CEO's?
Councillor Roundtree, have the call.
Yeah, I think both those statements work hand in hand. To be passionate about tourism, 100% passionate about tourism, and I was on that as well, but also what justification for expenditure. So they work hand in hand together. Okay, councillors, I'm going to declare the motion lapsed in 5 seconds if I don't have a mover for something. Councillor Qualman.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to ask a question through the chair to our finance manager come corporate manager, how much the Coorong Council already spends on tourism, please.
The Acting Director.
Have obtained that or not?
Yeah, through you, Chair. We can obtain that information, your breakdown, if I take it on notice.
Just thought it'd be of interest.
Councillors, I'm in your hands. I declare the decision report lapsed for want of a mover. We'll move on to decision report 6. The interim CEO has the call for an explanation and comment around the implementation of school community libraries review.
And through the chair, we've got Kelly there, who is still the expert in this matter. And
Thank you, Kelly.
do you have questions?
You're welcome.
Kelly, would you like to provide an introductory comment on this?
Mr. Mayor, can I just ask a question, probably of the CEO? Can we say to the library boards and state government, we don't want to be invested in community libraries anymore?
Why?
I have a question. CEO has a call.
We're going to have to defer to Kelly on the legalities of her refusal in that respect.
Kelly, you have the call. Introduction and answer the question. Thank you.
If you take it on notice.
School Libraries Review commenced a few years ago. It's been quite a detailed deep dive into the operational arrangements of public or school community libraries. The review itself was requested by the Education Board, and the Libraries Board have initiated the review. The review's looking at the funding arrangements and the operational side of things, and fair and equitable agreement between all parties that are involved. So we're talking the state government, the Education Department, and local councils or the LGA. The review or the agreements have been a issue of conjecture, I suppose, over quite a few years because they have not been signed previously.
8.5 years, I've checked it up.
And we're now at the pointy end of noting that we have recommendations that have been put forward. We have worked with the Libraries Board and our public libraries over the past two years to undertake this review. I think where we've got to represents a really good outcome in terms of the operational and clearly defining the baseline services that will be delivered under the School Community Library program. What we haven't seen in the past is clearly a demonstration on what we receive for our investment in libraries. Moving forward, we will see that. We will be requesting that the libraries are quite transparent in what they do with the funding that council does provide to them. The review, I think, is going to continue to demonstrate council's commitment to the delivery of public library services. And to answer your question, Councillor Arthur, if council did not fund the school community libraries, not only would it see a savings from council's behalf, it would see the closure of 4 community libraries across the district. Community would not have access to a library, and it would also potentially see staff numbers decline in the schools as a consequence of that.
Thank you. Councillor Arthur, does that answer your question, or do you want to take?
It's a roundabout way it does, because it would have to be tested, because I think it'd be, all this is really is cost shifting. Let's face facts, it's cost shifting from the state government to councils once again, but hidden within the background. But that's what it's all about. It's taking, like 8.5 years that I know that they've been working on an agreement between the 3 bodies. We've been expecting it for at least 7 years.
Forever.
To be worked out. Now it's worked out. There's a lot of things within this about maintenance. All of a sudden, council could be up for maintenance on some of these libraries. Well, that's never been in before. So there's a lot of hiddens in here that, council are now going to be expected to pick up what was either an education department cost or a libraries board cost. So, the 31,000, Bill, what is the total that libraries will now cost us in the budget 26-27 with this 31,500 added in?
It's approximately 80.
Yeah.
So Councillor Arthur, can I just get back to the original question? Are you happy with that, or do you want to take it on notice?
Oh, well, so you really have to say yes or no.
So you're happy with that answer?
I'm happy with what
Thank you.
Kelly's presented, yeah.
Okay, Councillor Coleman, you have a call?
Yes, thank you. Councillor Arthur stole some of my thunder. Yeah, it's 80,000 everyone, or 81,000, and I think 31,450 is on the nose a bit. I just hope it doesn't go up again next year. And but unfortunately, we are legislatively required to fund, so we can't do anything, can't get out of it. I just do find it disappointing. It's getting quite expensive. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Mayman and then Councillor Bland.
Okay, thank you, Acting Mayor. Through you, when it says implementation and phasing, .3, establishment of a local executive group, would that be a Section 41 committee, or could it look like that?
CEO has a call.
So through the chair, I hope not, and I don't think it's necessary. Not necessarily a committee of council. I think, executive committee could be, effectively a representative of council, representative of the other, or, relevant stakeholders. Doesn't have to be a 41.
Okay.
Would that not be what we've got now?
Yeah.
The libraries
Could.
board,
Yep,
which
yep.
Kelly.
I think
we
that's
have
correct.
meetings, yeah.
Councillor
Because we used to have local boards for the local community library, but they were thrown off because the government said they were illegal. It had been in for some 25, 30 years. And that's when they shut down, and that's when it started to change the whole process.
Councillors, still on questions. Councillor Bland has a call.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I think on page 43, it clearly talks about the potential general membership, which includes elected members on governing council, but more as an ex officio in that case. So I think there is adequate probably representation in this. My concern though is that, and I think he's probably in a better position at the moment with a new library going in, but it's made it very aware that we were responsible for now the maintenance, which probably was within the school's gambits in the past, that we may in fact find a little bit more coming our way once it becomes more obvious. Because I've not been a party to anything where council, until it was in a state such as the rebuild, that council has had a huge involvement in general maintenance of the area that they utilise within the public school system. We use it across 4.
Councillor Roundtree?
Just following up that, so we have to maintain these school library or these community libraries facilities, is that correct? Or is that the education department and the schools, like who provides the cleaner, who does the cleaning of these parts of the buildings of the libraries?
Currently,
Yeah,
They do.
they do, yeah.
And under the proposed changes?
oh, I think currently is different to the proposed changes, so Kelly currently.
So through the Mayor, currently the Education Department is responsible for the cleaning, the security, minor maintenance, minor buildings. Where council becomes responsible for anything is when there is a delivery of a service over and above the baseline services. So as an example, if a library decided to operate extended hours above baseline, there would be, so if someone wanted to open Thursdays above there's a formula attached, council would be responsible for maybe the wages, insurances, particular cleaning that may be undertaken during the school holidays. Now, when I say that comes out of, council's responsible for that, that comes out of the funding that we already provide them. All right, so we are already giving them funds to deliver additional services, right, that sits in that budget. The extra funding that we are proposing will accommodate some of that growth in there. Through the executive group, which will consist of school principals, representatives from council, there'll be more of a rigorous process around budget setting, forward planning. So in terms of program delivery, such as mums and bubs programs and senior tech time. So the additional funds will help deliver those programs and those services. Council is responsible or will be responsible for a proportion of maintenance. So if a window needed to be replaced, council would be responsible for a portion of that window replacement. So I'm just going to use an approximate 30% off the top of my head. So 30% of the library use is for public library services. So then everything is apportioned around that. Yep.
Thank you.
So the question.
Councillor Roundtree?
In the case of Meningie Library, which is a separate attached but considered separate, we have full responsibility for the maintenance and upkeep of that. No? Okay, just clear. Overall, I support the libraries. I think they have been, for certainly our regional communities, a very important part of what they do. And I know they're well supported by the young mums and the kids and the community out there. So I will be supporting this motion.
Any further questions? Councillors, there is a recommendation. Councillor Roundtree?
I'll move that way.
Councillor Roundtree is moving that way. Councillor Bland, you're seconding. Councillor Roundtree, you have the call.
Thank you, Mayor. Just as I said before, I take on board Councillor Arthur's comment and support it in that there is a cost shifting exercise continuing to happen where councils are just required to do more and more. And I think as a policy, as an overall thing, we need to keep addressing that because otherwise more and more is going to fall in our lap. That said, I think the document I read did provide a good enough case with examples and information for me to feel comfortable increasing the amount of funding we give them. I think it's going to a good cause and it is going directly into our communities, and I have seen with my own eyes that it benefits them. So that is why we support this.
Thank you, Councillor Roundtree. Councillor Bland?
Yes. The only concern that I have, and that it's quite clear in the document now, even though we haven't necessarily obviously paid for anything in the past, it is clearly known now by some of the principals that we will be responsible for that 30% as such. And so moving forward, I would like to know of any requests or council be made aware of any requests for services that we haven't previously paid for, so that we can monitor that going further into the next agreements that we need to put in. Now, it may not be much of a problem with new bills. On the other hand, we all know that that's not always true either, but everybody has a budget, and I know that they struggle. Sometimes it's easier not to apportion and they just go ahead with it under the staff, with the staff at the schools. However, that may not happen in the future.
Thank you. Any other councillors wish to enter debate?
Yes,
Councillor Arthur, you have the call.
yeah, I'm worried about the maintenance side of things. This hasn't been in before. Now, for example, the carpet needs doing up at Menangi. Okay, the council's just going to be up for 30% of it. Our foot traffic would be, I'll say 5%. It's a foot traffic in a school situation. The rest would be school students. The library, I don't know for other, but at Tintinara are used for classrooms now. They have classes in them 4 days a week. So I think we really need to get in black and white what part of maintenance we would be required to cover before we accept this. And the other thing is we should be making sure that the hours of the librarian are required are being kept, because as we know that those that sit on that existing board, it's up to the principal, and the principal in a lot of cases takes those positions away to help out in teaching. So that's one thing that we've really got to make sure. And libraries are shut sometimes because they haven't got staff. Under this agreement, they should have them. So I just emphasise we need some more and clearer guidelines on the maintenance side before we sign this agreement.
Thank you, Councillor Arthur. Are you expressing that view, or do you wish to vary the motion?
Well, I'd like to put it within the motion.
The mover and seconder accommodate that? What would the words be, Councillor Arthur?
That council
Investigate.
So point four.
council require concise information about the requirements of the maintenance projects in the libraries, yeah.
About the ongoing maintenance
Ongoing.
requirements, that'd be like information about the ongoing maintenance requirements of the libraries,
Yeah.
Does the mover and seconder happy to vary their motion?
ongoing maintenance requirements of the libraries. Let's make that point 2, also move it up. I think it sits better under receives and notes. Then we've asked a question. Then we anticipate the commencement and authorise the CEO. Make it point 2. Yeah, I think just drag it up to point 2.
Yeah, Councillor Bland?
I'd actually like to see that council require concise information prior to any commitment to ongoing maintenance requirements that will impact on council.
Arthur, you comfortable?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Councillor
Oh, well,
Roundtree?
it's up to Councillor Roundtree
Yeah,
Yes,
that's okay with that.
and Councillor Bland.
I'm taking it as a variation, not an amendment, though.
Ongoing commitments. Ongoing maintenance.
Remove the second ongoing.
Yeah, remove. Yep.
Okay, mover and seconder comfortable with those words at point 2.
Yes.
Councillor Bland, you're happy? Yep. Thank you, Councillor Arthur. Any other councillors wish to enter debate, noting that we have a revised motion? Councillor Coleman?
No, not a question, but more of a comment. I sit like better now what Councillor Arthur has suggested without alteration to the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Roundtree, you'll close. I'll put the motion as it reads. All those in favour? Motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to decision report 10.7, budget review 6. Thank you, Kelly.
Budget review 3.
Sorry, budget reviews 3. I was looking at the previous one. Councillors, questions? Councillor Roundtree
I'm just going to move it. I think we've had a fair discussion about it, but anyway.
has been through finance.
Yep.
Councillor Coleman. Question.
Thank you. Through the chair to our financial manager, page 2 where it says expenditure and it's middle point depreciation. Depreciation expenditure has not been implemented as council is awaiting data from its third-party asset provider. Are we still waiting for asset valuation on stormwater and buildings? Is it all complete and we still got a few dots to join before we get it all up to date?
Director.
Through you, Chair. We received late last week draft copies of revals for land building structures and CWMS, stormwater as well. Joel and I have briefly reviewed some of this late last week. So based on the initial review of the draft documents, the depreciation is looking like it will increase. So when there's more assets, the value of the assets, the replacement value of the assets, as these costs increase to replace, the other side is the depreciation factor. So based on initial review, just of these assets, it looks like depreciation will be increasing.
Yes.
So to answer your question, councillor, we received revals for those assets which I've just mentioned. And they're very detailed, I'd say. It's very detailed information. That's important when forming your cost structure and obtaining accurate figures for depreciation and the assets. I would say it's extremely detailed information, which is very good.
Thank you, Councillor Coleman. Thank you. Any further questions? Please just note the councillor moment left the room at 11:15. Councillor Arthur.
I just got one regarding the increase in community halls contract expenditure, $20,000.
Through the chair, thank you, Councillor Arthur. That's just to reflect some realised expenditure throughout the year. We've had to do several repair works or sanding and sealing some timber floors, things like that. That went over the set budget amount. So it was just it's not an overall increase to budget. It's just a shift within Paul's expenditure to shift it out of, say, materials and into contractor, because the expense was increased in contractor versus materials. So it's just more about just realigning the budget and that budget line to reflect the expenditure that has occurred and the type of expenditure.
No, compared to the previous year, the total maintenance costs were only 9,000. So to have a 20,000 must have been some substantial work in one of the halls.
What I will say is, with to, let's call it building repairs, maintenance, $20,000 doesn't get you very much anymore. So we had a similar query with regards to cultural venues, and there's, I think there's an $8,000 increase there. That was simply to repair some door frames and a desk set up. So it can quite quickly accumulate to $20,000 across 4 or 5 small type jobs. And that's just the nature of what we're dealing with. That is with respect to jobs being at Tintinara or Meningie. So there's travel costs incurred. There's not necessarily localised contractors. We do our best to obtain them to keep things as cost efficient as possible. But you know, when I consider the overall value of our halls on our asset register, to spend $20,000 in a year maintaining them is more than proportionate. I feel.
Thank you. Any further questions? Councillors, is a recommendation. Move Councillor O'Hara, seconded Councillor Bland.
It's already been moved by Roundtree.
Oh, sorry.
No, I didn't take it. I was asking for questions at the time, so it's all good. Councillor O'Hara and Bland. Councillor O'Hara, you're close.
Yeah.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Motion is carried unanimously. Moving on to decision report 10.8, to the CEO. Introduction, please.
Thank you, through the chair. So as you'll see, Ms. Gozer, starting to prepare for the next round of local budget reviews. And they produced a discussion paper and they're seeking feedback, especially from councils in regards to their focus, their processes. They're not talking about the fees yet, that'll come later. I prepared, they've given a series of questions and I prepared answers to all of those questions. Originally presented to Audit and Risk Committee, and feedback from Audit and Risk Committee was to, let's say, beef up the assertiveness or the strength of the responses, and that's exactly what I've done. I tried to channel the acting mayor, and I've managed to, yes, be a bit more strong and critical. So I welcome any conversation, comments, questions.
Thank you. Any questions from the chamber? Councillor Roundtree, you have the call.
Thank you. Just really just a pick up on the spelling thing. It's the on page 200 or 37 of the hard copy. Third paragraph, it says there are no doubts. There are no doubts. I think that should just read there is no doubt. It's a small one. Other than that, I actually thought that the comments that were written back were actually really good and firmer. I think expressed our concerns, certainly around the fact that the costs to do this and the ongoing auditing costs are not comparable to the size of the business. And I think they definitely need to look at that. And also the point I think you made about the fact that if you're most sustainable, do we need to have more frequent ones? That was a good point. If you're not sustainable, maybe you need them more frequently if they genuinely want to help people. So yeah, I thought it was a good report.
Thank you. Any further questions? Councillor Moment.
Yes, thank you, Acting Mayor, and through you, just really general comments. I think it was very good responses. They're well worded and well done. That's it. Nothing to add. I wouldn't add anything to it.
I might, just in relation to the audit committee, some significant amount of time was spent on the document. So a lot of input from both staff and our audit as well. So yes, a lot more information put into it this time in terms of input from audit as well. It was excellent.
Thank you. Anything further? Councillor's recommendation. Moved Councillor Bland, seconded Councillor Maidment. Recommendation as it reads. Councillor Bland, you have the call.
Closed.
Councillor Maidment, do you wish to say?
I'm good to go, thanks.
Any other councillors wish to enter debate? Put the motion. All those in favour? Motion is carried unanimously. Thank you to the CEO for his work on that. Decision report 10.9, the Titanara Aged Homes request to remove from the Retirement Village Act. Councillors, we have discussed this quite a bit, but any questions before we proceed today? Is there a councillor that wishes to thank you? Councillor Arthur moved, seconded Councillor Bland. Councillor Arthur, you have the call.
I think we're just, the project is moving along ever so slowly. So we'll just keep the ball rolling.
Councillor Bland,
Close.
any other councillors wishing to debate? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Decision report 10, capital projects deferral. Director has a call.
Thank you. And through the mayor, the purpose of this report is to just document the challenges that have been presented over the last 2 to 3 months with respect to increases in costs in materials and the supply of services as a fallout of the actions in overseas and the effect on diesel and seal costs. So what we are doing here is just tabling the couple projects in the seal program that are going to be deferred into the 26-27 year, that being Trevena Road, which was a resurfacing of the intersection adjacent to the train line. It's sort of failing, and Karkuma Road, the intersections within the township that are similar. All other projects within the program were committed to by way of either SLRP funding, so had to be delivered within the financial year, or already worse in progress at the time that we started experiencing the cost pressures. So the car park across the road is a good example of that. So projects in that realm we had to continue to commit to, and then it was about, I guess, risk assessing what projects could be deferred over a period of 3 to 4 months. And they'll be the 2 projects that will defer. So what you'll see is that BR1 in the new financial year, they'll be formally bought in and some expenditure put to them. And what that will mean for the 26-27 project is that likely a project like Tynan Road, for example, where we've got significant kilometres proposed in the draft annual business plan, there might be a reduction to that road, for example, to shift some funding into these projects that we need to bring in. So it won't expand the bottom budget line. We'll just massage it over an increase of 2 projects. For Tynan Road, we still have further kilometres predicted or forecast for future financial year after next financial year. So again, from a risk-based perspective, we'll still got further stages of that road, and we'll just continue to allocate as many kilometres as we can to that road to continue its renewal. The other, I guess, element that we've experienced a little bit of squeeze is the footpath expansion program. We feel we've been able to balance it quite well. What we are doing though is Princess Highway Meningie will, in the proposed 26-27 annual business plan, there'll be another stage of that to continue it on so that we can deliver that in full. But that,
Ask a question there while you're on that one. Is that Princess Highway from the post office south?
yes.
Okay. I just want to make the comment that at this minute, and I'll probably move a motion later, that in that there is a lot of services, which I'm sure you're aware about, but also, correct me if I'm wrong, Councillor O'Hara, NBN's going through at the moment, which may also impact. I don't want to see this project stopped at all.
Yeah.
However, it is just noting that there's a lot happening down there at the moment.
Yeah.
On our footpaths.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you, Councillor Bland. And as we discussed earlier, that's very new information to me. So I'll speak with the project delivery team about seeking information from NBN around their movements and the work that they intend to do so that we don't compromise our project. Notwithstanding, I guess that's the basis of the report, just to formally present the impact we've experienced from a project delivery perspective and just the small realignment just to ensure that we, with our best ability, hold this year's budget to budget.
Councillor Moman, question?
Yes, thank you, Acting Mayor, and through you, the car park Crossroad, as you just happened to mention, I
Yep.
noticed the budget's blown out by $146,000. I thought that was a fixed price contract, and I've been told that. So I'm wondering how that can blow out by that amount.
So the procurement, through the chair, when we closed out the procurement, so $300,000 is the budget. That is not the price that we procured it at. When we procured it, it was, I think about $340,000 for the procurement. So what we've got 446 there includes on costing. The other thing that, yes, you can have a fixed price contract, but there's still rise and fall variables in that. And so what we experienced was a $30,000 increase in the seal because of what's happened overseas. There's also some variations to the works. So when you put a job like that out to the market, you fight a balance of putting very explicit detail out and you get a very large upfront cost, and you just cop that. And yes, you can perhaps better fix a price, but you'll pay a premium because they don't have allowances to implement some rise and fall. So rock breaking is a good example of that. So if you said we're not accepting rock breaking clauses, you'll pay a premium.
Yep.
So through the course of delivering it, there's been a few variations. Rock breaking is one. You might come across an unknown service that then needs to be shifted or a pipe that needs to be shifted. And so there's a small accumulation of things like that over the course of building it that you don't or have not been able to capture at the time you put it out to the market. So there's just a few things realised there that have led to that price being that price.
So are we likely to incur more costs?
No, that is our forecast. And what I would say is that in that number of 446, there's some contingency in that to account for the variations. I'd be hopeful that we can actually reduce that number once the contingency amounts are reduced and the variations are realised.
We're going to have a look later, I think, aren't we, at that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
I have to say it's pretty disappointing to see such a big increase from what was originally in the budget, but
Yep.
you've explained it, so I thank you for that.
No, that's all right.
Yeah. Okay, we'll leave it at that.
Councillor Coleman?
Thank you. That was, Mr Mayor, that was going to be my question about notice, but I'll might as well speak to it now. I'm like Councillor Maidment, disappointed the overrun, but I understand though, with the events that are happening overseas and from asphalt to oil, you name it, fuel has an impact, and I think the community will understand that. Probably what they are troubling having understanding, as I feel, is why it community expectation said 5 to 6 weeks. It's already gone past 12 weeks. And I would have thought qualified contractors would know what Taylor Bend's like, where the challenges were. So I do find it very disappointing why it took a double amount of time. I can understand the overrun with the money, like I said, but to take now with probably 13 weeks time we do line marking and signage, or even 14 weeks, I find it not really good for the amount of money we pay. The Director. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Coleman. And look, I'm not in disagreement with anything that you've just tabled. Of course, we would like to deliver the project as quick as possible, reduce the impact to the community. There's some really tight constraints there that we've been working to in terms of falls and elevations to make sure that we don't end up with another Lake Bungee off the back of it. And I use that as your sentimental term for what it used to be over there. Whilst we would like to do it as quick as possible, we also need to make sure that we don't have an outcome where we're still got those sorts of elements. I think there's probably you know, there's a few things that the contractor did to try and keep the price down as little as possible. A lot of the concrete over there, they mixed themselves on site, which meant that they were doing lots of little bits all the time. You know, instead of paying freight for concrete all the way from Murray Bridge all the time, they got a lot of the base elements themselves and did a lot of mixing themselves. That could have saved tens of thousands of dollars, but takes a little bit more time. So, look, I'm not going to, it would be not correct for me to sit here and try and defend the time frame it's taken. But I think once we, you know, get some time into the future, the time it's taken to build will pale into insignificance and will be appreciative of the end outcome. So.
If I may
Councillor
finish,
Foley.
thank you. Yeah, I think the community is really appreciative for sure. You know, even if some people a bit annoyed how long it's taken and inconvenience, especially probably the RSL Anzac Day. But I think our director and council for making it not so uncomfortable on that particular day. I just say that it will be beneficial that when we go over there to have an actual look and ask a few questions this afternoon, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Coleman. Councillors, I note we're on project deferral, which is budget adjustments and deferred projects. Any further questions?
Yes.
Councillor Arthur?
I'll just go Carcooma Road.
Mm-hmm.
Deferred. That is the intersection of Carcooma Road and Went Terrace.
Through the chair, the two intersections within the township bounds there.
Sorry?
So the two intersections, township bounds. So there's Went Terrace and I forget what the other one is back towards.
Street. And
Yes, those two
Okay.
intersections.
it wasn't Went Terrace intersection. It's supposed to be done as part of Carcooma Road.
No, the design,
Because
the
I
design,
asked this question before.
Yeah.
Because the contractor started about 30 metres from the intersection and was told that they would be coming back to fix it up. Well, they've sprayed a little bit on the outgoing lane, but they've done nothing
Yeah.
about the corner on the coming in.
yeah, through the chair, the design for Carcooma Road Works never actually incorporated Went Terrace. We were just trying to achieve some extra alongside of what their design was. We, from that point, decided the section as knowing that that was going to be the best outcome to deal with it. So, yeah, it was never part of the intended scope of works to deal with Went Terrace intersection in that project.
Misled. The other thing is the Carcooma Road Health Centre car park. Who designed that and where did that come from? Because in all the time that there's been no discussion about that car park, the discussion was about the car park where the disabled sign is, to make that an area without the rubble and the stone so that walkers and that could come in. That has been brought up at community consultations probably every time for the last 5 years, but nothing to do with what we've done down there. And everybody in the town is absolutely amazed what the hell has been done there and why. And I asked the question, why did we do that?
So before I go to the director, I will note that we did discuss this, Councillor Arthur, unfortunately after you left last week, in some detail at the Tuesday meeting. And I will also note that I have expressed further concern to the director during the week regarding the design, because there were two different options that were circulated. So a finalised design for that work that's already begun will be circulated shortly to elected members to the director.
Thanks. And through the mayor, so yeah, obviously the last 2 weeks we've had inquiries of such coming around that project. If I recall back to last week's discussion after you left, I'll try and reiterate that notwithstanding essentially there was some discussion around what the scope of that project was with relevant individuals to Tintinara. Probably what I would, I guess, accept is that it wasn't with all encompassing, and we probably need to do a little bit of consultation to make sure that we got the scope of works correct. Notwithstanding, it doesn't prevent us from doing any further works into the future to formalise the area that you're talking about. The work that we've done still does provide disability parking and accessibility access to the building. So certainly don't feel like the work is lost work. It actually formalises what was an informal car park as it stood, and that there could be a future project. And we are committed to just leaving, because that project is on the strategic projects register. I think it's quite high up the top in terms of its importance. We'll leave it there. We've realigned the scope to continue it to stay there, so that we in the future find a way to address the area that you mentioned.
Thank you. Further question, councillor?
No, that's unfortunate that has been done, because it's still, if they use that new car park, they've still got to be able to get across the rough area to get into the thing.
So we'll just comment to that there is a path from the car park directly towards the door, so there will be no rough area from the disabled car park to the entry point.
Yeah, okay.
But I will ask the director.
Yeah, through the chair, there is in the information report later on in the agenda, there is the illustration of what it will look like. It'll show the two disability parks. It shows a shared zone, as you have between two disability parks, and there is a connecting footpath from that shared zone into the front door of the facility.
Any further questions
No, that's all.
on this decision report? Councillor Cormann?
Just a comment. Well, it's actually, I had concerns when I'd seen the deferral and adjustments. However, in the summary, and I thank our director, he's written here, despite these pressures, all current changes have been managed within the existing APP and long-term financial plan allocation. So that makes it a bit more comfortable, because I had a horrible feeling we wouldn't be keeping up with our asset renewal and long-term financial plan, but we're jiggling and jaggling by the sound of it. Thank you.
Oh, sorry,
Thank to the CEO.
through the chair, that's going to remain a challenge. And the environment we're in makes it more difficult, like every council. And, hence that's why you see in the federal budget last week that the federal government have announced that 80% of the allocation for next FY will be paid before June in the financial assistance grant. Not that that necessarily helps, because it's just, it isn't necessarily, an increase in money, but it's recognising that councils at the moment have got significant cost issues.
Thank you.
But yeah, I just signal that. We're keeping in budget, but that challenge in terms of the asset renewal remains, actually is elevated. I would say it's elevated. Remember what was talked about before about the depreciation possibly increasing?
Yep.
So there will be no doubt there'll be conversation as we talk about the LTFP in July, August, that this issue, the renewal of assets and the ratio that's adopted by council, will be a discussion point.
Yeah, for sure.
Councillors, any further questions? Have a recommendation. Thank you, Councillor Coleman, you're moving. Seconder. Councillor Roundtree. Move Councillor Coleman, second to Councillor Roundtree. Councillor Coleman, you have the call.
I've said enough, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Roundtree, do you wish to?
Yeah, I haven't said much at all. It's always disappointing to have to cut back, but I can also see the logic behind it. So I'll be supporting.
Thank you. Any further councillors wish to enter the debate? Councillor Coleman, you'll close. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Motion is carried unanimously. Moving on to decision report 11, Wellington East Water Supply and Divestment of Assets. Councillors, I'll introduce this one. There was a significant discussion at Audit and Risk regarding this item. And for the benefit of anybody watching the live stream, I'd just like to make a couple of points. During the last week, SA Water has put out a press release which does cover some of the items in this to the public. And I would like to note that council will not be charging a double up when SA Water commences. So there will be a period of time where residents may not receive any charge for a matter of weeks. But just to clarify that, because it has been mentioned in the public, there will be no double up in charge between council and SA Water. The Director?
Thank you, and through the Mayor. So yeah, purpose of this report, it's a replica of what went to the Audit and Risk Committee last week. Purely informative, purely just to get the process of occurrences over the next 6 to 8 weeks as they will happen. Predominantly, we're just finalising a transfer agreement document with SA Water, which will just stipulate the terms and conditions that we will sort of release the assets and they'll accept them. It articulates, I guess, where our liability period will end and where their liability period will commence, which is largely around the official handover period. What we're also trying to articulate here is how it will look for the residents in terms of billing and that side of it. So if I'm just to talk you through the dot points over the next 6 to 8 weeks, so very shortly SA Water will change. So they have now installed the link into our system. So they are actually supplying the water to the system now. Very shortly, they will change over the meters to their own. At that point, we as council will take the final meter reads and we'll issue the final usage invoices based on those meter reads. Anticipate, that will happen sometime in the next week to 2 weeks. From that point on, SA Water are obviously supplying the system with water, but they still don't own or manage the system network. So the pipes, the infrastructure. So we as council, I guess, are still responsible for the maintenance if there is anything to occur. So for that reason, we will still hold all of the supply charge that has been issued in the last quarter of rates notices up until the end of the financial year. Through these times, SA Water are working through their flushing, their sanitisation and trying to get potable certification. We think that'll occur early in July. That is the point at which SA Water will take on board all residents as customers and take responsibility for the system. And then they will start billing from that point on. So what we've got there is some time in the middle where we as council have made some decisions to err on the side of not charging for a period of time. We literally will have no costs now for supplying the system because SA Water are supplying all the water. We're not running our pump skids anymore. So we've erred on the side of being a little bit more conservative in that regard. And it's serving as a bit of more of a, I guess, an olive branch out to the residents that they get a period of time where they're not going to have to pay for anything through this process. So yeah, what will happen, the agreement between council and SA Water will need to be executed on a common seal, which I only found out this morning. So that will come to next council meeting just to endorse that we execute that agreement.
To the chair, I
Ms. Leo?
might say that agreement has been vetted by solicitors and solicitors' advice is being followed to finalise that agreement.
Happy to take any further questions. There's fair bit there to digest, but largely I sit quite comfortable that there's a smooth process for the next 8 weeks.
Councillor Bland, you have the call.
Look, it's probably a minor one and I think you've covered it anyway, but I will ask the question. In point 3, page 53 of a hard copy, we talk about 2 to 3 weeks.
Yep.
Have we thought about what might happen if that was a much longer period?
Not really, because I think I'm being conservative with that time frame already. SA Water are talking 4 to 6 to get potable certification. I'm adopting 6 to 8 as a conservative measure. I think, all the best I can do is operate on the standard that SA Water set to achieve something like this that they've experienced somewhere else. So we will know early enough if it's going to extend beyond that time by a significant amount. Again, the risk is really low of experiencing expenditure, and I'd still be reticent to start issuing a supply. We're already going to issue our rates notices. I think the risk is low that we would experience a blowout on the pipe or something like that. Yeah.
Any further questions, councillors? There's a recommendation that council, Councillor Quammen, do you have a question?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through the chair. The way I read this, so the pre-existing pipework network will remain council infrastructure until the actual the certified potable certificate is done. So that's the only one left to be, that's outstanding. All the rest is automatic through this motion. Is that correct? Or we got to wait till then before we hand it all over?
So they will not formally take over the system until it's certified potable.
Yeah, right. So,
Which will occur, we think, sometime early in July.
and then
But between now and then, you could best describe it as a hybrid model. They're supplying the water, but we've still got to manage and maintain the pipe network.
Yep.
So,
They will be changing over to their meters prior to that handover date.
yes. Oh, they'll be doing that very shortly, because the meters being their meters is part of the potable certification process.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's fine. Yep. Thank you.
Any further questions, councillors?
Comment that it's nice to see us, and I thank the staff and everyone for the
Yeah.
There's a recommendation, councillors. Councillor O'Hara and Councillor Bland. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Motion is carried unanimously. Council's decision report 12, Treasury Management Policy Review. Councillors been through the Governance Committee. Any questions?
I'm happy to move that way.
We'll move. No further questions. So Councillor Rountree is moving. Is there a seconder? Councillor Maidment, thank you. Councillor Rountree of the call.
I think we've had a good look at this one. It's been through audit and risk, and it's been through the governance, so I'm happy for it to see.
Thank you, Councillor Maidment.
No, nothing to add, thank you.
Any other councillors wish to enter debate? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Motion is carried unanimously. Moving on to the decision report 10.13. Roadside signage policy review.
I have a question.
Question, Councillor Rountree.
So I sort of disagree with the administration's response to submission number 5. The Welcome to Coorong Council signs have faded. They do look really tired. And I think if we're going to look at branding, these signs, which is the same, it's like Welcome to Sherlock, Welcome to Coomeradook, they're all, whatever materials we use have faded, and they actually look a little bit tired and run down, and it would be good to see those included in some sort of branding update. So that was a point I wanted to make. Everything else I think is fine, but I just thought that needed attention.
I may respond to
To
that.
CEO.
So my suggestion, and I agree with you, my suggestion would be to put that on the strategic project list as a project for hopefully for next financial year we can do it.
Councillor Qualman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members, and thank you, Councillor Rountree. That's the very point number 5 I was going to bring up.
Sorry.
During my travels around the place, I was coming along Caldy Road, and now, what would you say, our Eastern Welcome to Coorong Council sign had been knocked over. That was in September, and it wasn't reinstated until April the 23rd this year. So that's what, for 7 months or whatever you want to call it. And it was disappointing, but having said that, the council staff were pretty good and informed me of the challenges there were. At one stage, we were looking at $5,000 and then we'll have 1,500 and it was a bit scary, Mr. Mayor, that and the time it took to repair it. So I just hope that when we get around to upgrading our welcome to Coorong, that we save a lot more money and get a bit more streamlined. It just seemed disappointing that it took 7 months to replace the sign. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Coleman. Councillor Bland?
Look, if I might just have leave for a second, just to give a little bit of history. These signs are now at least 10 years old, if not longer. Many of them had a reflective surface on because they're on the highway, on some of our highways. And each community had an opportunity for the tagline to be included in it. So there was a lot of public consultation on those signs, including the artwork and the overall signage. So I just want to make a comment that there's a lot of history. It will be somewhere in council if anyone wants to look at some of the criteria that was used, and to perhaps indicate that some of that was done by or in conjunction with the tourism officer that was here at the time, if I remember. So just background,
Correct.
we should have that information, sizes, et cetera, and what was used. It should be in the system.
Thank you. Any further questions? Councillors, as a recommendation, the signage policy is separate to the issue of the feedback. Councillor Bland?
I'll move the policy.
Move the policy. Councillor Rountree, your second. So the recommendation as it reads, councillors?
Question first, then how would you deal with how do you see us dealing with the feedback? Are we sending that to roads and infrastructure?
Through the chair, yes, that would be, so anything that, requires action. And otherwise those, getting back also to, people who've written in with their comments.
So could I add a dot point then, that the feedback on the policy be forwarded to roads and infrastructure where appropriate?
You, Councillor Rountree, are you comfortable with that variation?
That's fine.
A separate dot point. Be referred to roads and infrastructure for consideration. Councillor Bland, you have the call.
Closed.
Councillor Rountree, do you wish to?
Nothing further to add.
Any other councillors wish to enter debate? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Motion is carried unanimously. Decision report 14, which is the minutes of the Finance Committee. Councillors, do I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Coleman. Seconder. Councillor Hara. Councillor Coleman. Wish to speak? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Decision report 15, the minutes of the Special Audit and Risk Committee meeting held 21st April 2026. Councillors, any questions? The recommendation, Councillor Bland is moving. Is there a seconder? Councillor Rountree. You're close.
Just reiterate what I've said before in relation to the significant discussion.
Thank you. Put the motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Decision report 16. Audit and Risk Committee minutes of the primary meeting held on the 12th of May. Any questions, councillors? we have touched on a couple of items that were raised during this meeting in previous motions. Is there a mover for the recommendation? Councillor Arthur, second to Councillor Bland. Councillor Arthur, you'll close.
Closed.
The motion, all those in favour? Carried unanimously. Strong Community Health Advancement and Advisory Committee minutes of the meeting held 14th of April 2026. There was no specific recommendations, as I recall, coming out of this meeting. Any questions, councillors? No. Thank you, Councillor Roundtree. Moving. Seconder. Thank you, Councillor Moment. Roundtree.
And nothing further to add?
Councillor Moment.
No, thank you, nothing.
Any other councillors wishing to enter debate? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Minutes of the Murraylands and Riverland Local Government Association held on the 24th of April 2026. I'll just make note that we, as I mentioned earlier in this meeting, Coorong Council moved a motion to advocate on behalf of the Tailem and Bean Community Centre regarding transport, as well as around roads and the impact of state government decisions. I also put forward a motion to advocate on around the topic that we had discussed regarding wild dogs, and they weren't comfortable proceeding with that and asked for further background information. So Councillor Arthur will be coming to have a chat with you about that prior to the next MRLGA meeting to advance that one again. They were prepared to consider it, they just didn't understand the specific issues that you've raised in our chamber regarding dogs, but so the next meeting will be where we'll raise that. Any questions, councillors?
When I was reading through this, it was under yours, there was things that Coorong Council had brought up. It was still pending, but I didn't see anything about the rating of solar farms, etc. It's something that we pushed through the Riverland, Murraylands some time ago. Then it got lost in the process, and then we had to keep following it up. And it's been to the LGA, and of course, because it's not a city job, it seems to have lost its traction. I know there was a bill going to be introduced, but the LGA should be still really pushing this on behalf of country councils.
It was brought up earlier in the meeting, so I'm more than happy to take that up again specifically at the next meeting.
Through the chair, my understanding is the state election has had a bit of a bearing on that, because the bill was largely championed by someone who's no longer in cabinet in Parliament. So I think there's a lot of people watching that space, but yep, it either needs to be, reinvigorated, or it's likely to be lost, I think, in the current Parliament.
So the two new elected members of Parliament for McKillop and Hammond were present at the meeting. That was where it was brought up. It was mentioned to them as something that they needed to advocate for.
Yep.
But again, more than happy to bring it up formally at the next meeting.
It didn't say down here.
So through you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Bland?
Thank you. I'm just wondering whether that requires another motion so that it gets on the book formally, even though I note you will bring it up. And should we write formally to our representatives, them to follow?
Bless you. I think if we were to add specifically around the wild dogs, because they did ask for more information, so we could note that at the next meeting, the chamber wishes for the wild dog and power generation facility advocacies to be brought up. Something along those lines, councillors?
I would be happy with those both being put in as extra dot points.
It's strange that it was brought up. They didn't know about the wild dog board, because a lot of those councils actually
there was concern that it's more appropriate for landscapes to deal with it. And given I brought it up in my report, they asked for further information. So I think wild dogs with Coorong to provide background information. But I would say that this chamber has a better understanding of it than some others by the sounds of it.
To the chair, I think the confusion was they didn't understand the difference between Victoria and South Australian legislation and the border issues.
All right.
But I think that was the confusion, and it wasn't the appropriate time, I think, to unravel all of that with them. We need to provide them information so they can digest that and and hopefully support.
Because the landscape board on the Limestone Coast and the river are both represented on the wild dog board.
Yep. Of power generation facilities. And if we could just note that Coorong Council will provide background information on both topics ahead of the meeting.
Raise the following issues and provide background information. The information's already been provided on the agenda. It's just wild dogs.
So councillors, there is a varied recommendation there. Is there a councillor wishing to move that way? Councillor Bland. Seconded by Councillor Arthur. Councillor Bland, you have the call.
Closed.
Yeah, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Moving on to decision report 10.19, after which we're going to have a 10-minute break. Murray Lands and Riverland Local Government Association 2026-27 business plan. The recommendation is that the council endorse. I will just note that there are a couple of corrections that council, specifically the CEO and myself, asked for. One is to note Paul Simmons as the Mayor of the Coorong Council on page 4, and also to correct Miles's title there as well. Councillors, any questions? Oh, thank you. So on the screens, council, is the updated recommendation, which is varied to the agenda. So it includes the words subject to the inclusion of updated Coorong District Council Mayor and interim CEO details, page 3 of the plan. Any questions? Councillor Nolan.
Thank you. Acting Mayor, through you, it's also mentioned on page 360 of the computer. I don't know what page it is on the plan, that you're both there as well. Do you need to correct that?
Could you just describe what page looks
It's
like?
360 on the computer,
Thank you.
the
Yeah,
one right before the electoral boundaries.
thank
That's
you.
appendix. So you're right on the bottom of the page. Does that need to be corrected as well or not?
Yes, it would need to.
Okay.
Perhaps if we just take out page 3 of the plan from that recommendation. I think the motion then stands on its own 2 feet.
Yeah.
Anything further regarding this, councillors? Councillors, this recommendation, do I have, thank you, Councillor Roundtree. Seconder. Councillor Maidment has seconded. Councillor Roundtree. You have the call.
Nothing further, Dave.
Councillor Maidment.
No, thanks.
Any other councillors wishing to enter debate? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Motion is carried unanimously. I'm going to suspend the meeting at 12:08 for a 10-minute break. Thank you, councillor. I'll just note that councillor Bland will be soon, but is currently out of the meeting. Councillor's information report, Office of the CEO. Are there any questions to the CEO? Councillor Bland is rejoining the meeting. 12:21. Councillors, any questions? Councillor Moga.
Yes, thank you, Acting Mayor, and through you, just page 370 on the computer. The outstanding acquittal, are we getting any closer to that being finalised? Keith Shooting Club.
Oh, the shooting club.
Yeah.
November 25 date.
Yeah.
Um,
that- yeah, could you-
But I will need to declare a conflict of interest on this, but I will answer the question.
Yep.
So I'm a member of the shooting club. I'm not an executive member. We're currently waiting on the engineer to complete the works.
Okay,
So the donated material from the club has been given to the engineer. Everything's done except that's the whole up at this stage.
okay,
And
thank you.
at the AGM, it was discussed that the president had been in touch with some council staff members who aren't in the room at the moment. So there has been ongoing dialogue.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? Councillors, the recommendation. Receive and note the CEO's report. Councillor Roundtree, you're moving.
Yes.
Have a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Mayment. I'll put the motion. All those in favour. Motion is carried unanimously. Moving on to the Community and Corporate Information Report. Councillors, questions? Councillor Roundtree.
So this is page 306 of the hard copy. It's to do with the customer service statistics and the chart, end of month total customer request chart. I just want some clarification on how to read that chart. So my question is what is the difference between a customer request being considered in progress and outstanding? To me, that would sort of say the same thing.
Yeah,
If there are 59 requests outstanding in April and 79 in progress, does that mean that the 59 haven't even been looked at yet? And if I add up all the green outstanding columns, it comes to 697. So is that the correct way to view an outstanding customer request? So I want an explanation about that report.
Okay. So
The CEO.
through the chair, an outstanding item is one that hasn't been commenced yet. It's been acknowledged, but it hasn't been commenced yet. In progress one, it has been acknowledged and commenced. And of course, the others are completed.
So if there is July, there's 44 outstanding, and then in August there's 94. So could you then say, well, 44 add 94 at the end of August is that total, and then you do that through that year, which comes to about 697. Is that how it?
Acting Director.
Through you, Mayor. So that's an accumulative total. So
Yeah.
when you're looking at, for example, look at April, we got 59. That is the current balance. So you shouldn't be doing any subtraction or addition through prior months. It's just the running tally at that particular moment.
So the running tally.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have 59 in April, 59 outstanding, and 79 in progress.
Correct.
And if I may, that would then indicate that the completed are just dropping off.
Correct. Yeah, that's the waiting is dropping off. Correct.
And completed.
Councillors, any further questions? Councillor Maber.
Yes, thank you, Acting Mayor, through you, on the very next page. So 390 on the computer and 107 on the paper copy. Developments. Well, hasn't that gone up in a year? That's very good news to see. There's a land division there that wasn't there last year, and 2 or 3 more dwellings, which is very promising.
If I might make a comment through the
Yeah.
chair. There's generally been an increase in development activity. However, also what's reflected, and particularly the dwelling applications, as a result of our compliance activity.
Okay.
So you imagine the work that we've been doing at Wellington East, where we had a number of people who were living in sheds and caravans. They now have put in development applications for dwellings.
Excellent.
So very successful.
Good.
Further questions, councillors? Recommendation? Councillor Roundtree moving. Second, Councillor Maidment. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Now, councillors, move on to the Roads and Infrastructure Information Report. Questions? Councillor Qualman, you have the call.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, through the chair to our Director, Roads and Infrastructure. Page 111 of the hard copy, road name, it says depots/quarries. Shifted all plant into depots, quarries for the Easter weekend for enhanced security measures. That's very good. Are we continuing doing that sort of stuff, just the way fuel is and everything, and just enlighten us about the actions or security measures we are now taking?
Yeah, thank you.
Cool.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Quammen. Through the Mayor, so as we remember, that was off the back of having one of our graders drained of 400 litres of diesel. So yeah, through the Easter weekend, yeah, that worked really well. I think all graders were actually in depots. They weren't actually even out on site on properties. Since then, probably just bit of an adjustment to how we perform those operations. So if graders are staying out on site, Dean or the Coordinator Roads has been working diligently with localised property owners. We've formulated a little property agreement where if a property owner is happy to house a grader on their, within their premises for a period of time, we just get, their acceptance of such, and that we assume liability for all our own equipment and things like that, just so that there's no grey areas. That's been working really well. Most property owners have been really receptive of that and understanding. We're a bit cautious. We don't want to draw extra attention to properties as well. So we would respect that if a property owner wasn't inclined to support, we'd just have to accept that be it. So there's been that. We've also just adjusted, I guess, refueling. So typically staff or plant operators used to refuel at the end of the day so that they were ready to go first thing in the morning. What that left was an implement or an item of plant fully or filled with, a significant dollar value of fuel. So they've adjusted, they refuel in the morning, and, we're generally just putting enough in for what we need for the day so that when they finish at the end of the day, there's a minimal amount of diesel in it overnight when we're not there. So, yeah, there's just a few little adjustments like that are not onerous or impactful to the way we go about it, but just leave council vulnerable in that space.
That's very good. Thank you. Questions, councillors? Councillor Paul? I'll move. Thank you. I will just make one comment, if I may, Councillor Coleman, before we do. Help in Changing Places toilet facility in the agenda that has now been completed and is now open to the public. And I also just want to make note of the intersection change in Tintinara at Ford Avenue and North Terrace. In contrast to previous comments regarding the speeder work, this one seems to be going at a very quick pace. And they have been doing an excellent job of maintaining traffic flow through the area. Councillor O'Hara?
Yeah, I'd just like to make comment on the traffic counters. I think it's great you've got out on Mooney Hills Road. That's a very busy road, Mooney Hills Road, and it'll be good to see the figures from that. And I'll be very, very interested to see the figures on Mason Lookout Road.
I would not have suspected, councillor.
How timely.
Any further Councillor Maidment and then Councillor Bland?
Sorry, just a very quick general comment on the Cadoupans Changing Places toilet. the video you and councillor Roundtree posted on Facebook was very informative and well done. Should be more of it. Good on you.
So off the cuff. wasn't
It was good to see it though, and the quality of the work there is outstanding.
Yeah,
And your
fantastic.
response.
I'm actually going to follow up just
That's
on
very
the
good.
changing places. I think it's been a great solution. Well done to the staff for where they've got that project to. I think it's going to be an addition definitely to our travelling public. My understanding is that the toilets, the changing places toilets are for highways specifically. Just wondering how that affects the rest of the council in the future as well. But yeah, well done to everyone.
Thank you, Councillor Lamb. And for anybody that hasn't seen the video and is watching, in order to use them, you need what's known as an MLAC key, which if you have a need for that sort of facility, you can easily apply for and obtain. And that should prevent any vandalism and damage so that the facility is always fit for purpose. Any further questions? Councillor Arthur?
Yes, one on waste management, roadside waste management collection. And the answer I got from the Department of Infrastructure, Roads and Infrastructure. Is this contract based on an actual pickup? Or is it based on, like the contract used to be, I think it was 2,200 pickups average per month or per week or whatever it was. And, you know, sometimes it'd be well under, sometimes it may be over. But with the details you've given, it's almost as if it's on a what picked up basis instead of, you know, like, for example, yesterday down my street, there was only 3 bins for the whole of the street, for the yellow bins.
Yep.
So, you know, they're not going to run down here for 3.
Yep. The director has a call.
Through the chair, I would review invoicing, but I believe it's on numbers of numbers collected is what we get invoiced.
Right. So we've got X amount to start with.
Yeah, so we have a total amount of bins.
Yep.
And I'm just going to use round numbers here. So let's say we have 2,200 bins. If they collect 2,190, we'll get billed for 2,190 collections.
So this is an entirely new, different contract to what we've had before.
This is the
Where-
contract that's been in place since
Yeah,
2023.
this is the one that in a couple of years ago.
Yep.
Because before it was based on X amount, didn't matter how many was picked up.
Yeah, no, the latest iteration of councils, there's several councils under the same contract. They were far more diligent about making sure they get best dollar value out of the contractor, and that's a mechanism.
Right.
Only pay for what's being collected, not just an arbitrary number each time. That doesn't
Okay,
change.
no problems. The other thing is we've just sent out notices to adding the extra bins. Has any allowance been made for when a green bin has been swapped for a red? It has not. And not everybody's getting them. And down at Tindanara, we've got, for example, I've had a few phone calls because they've got a letter from the council where they're going to be charged for 1 extra bin. Now that 1 extra bin was swapped under council rules some time ago for giving the green bin back and having a red.
Yep.
Now there's one other that has 3 red bins, and they've made an arrangement with that they don't have a yellow, they don't have a green. That's 3, but they're getting 3, but they didn't get a notice. They haven't gone through all the businesses.
Yeah, so
What happened with the business, with the notice, who's going out to?
through the chair, there's quite a bit to work through here. We get good data from Solar around what properties are putting out additional bins outside of a standard allocation. We have good data around foreign bins, so bins that haven't been supplied by council. The letter that went out is, I guess, the first step to additional bins. We still have foreign bins to work through, but we are diligently trying to get to a point where it's completely transparent and equitable. so that if someone has an additional bin, they pay for it. It's a council bin, so that there isn't any of this grey area going forward. But there is approximately 50 to 60 properties we're working through, or additional bins. So some properties have multiples. The letter that went out is not necessarily saying we're asking if they want to opt into the service. They're not being told, but asking. So they need to respond to us to say, yes, they do want to keep their additional bin. And so that we will then charge them for it. But if they don't want to, they can reply to us and we'll collect
Yeah,
the
I
bin.
realise what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're trying
Yeah.
to catch up.
I just want to make that clear. We're
But the
not.
thing is, why haven't everybody who's got more than one bin got the letter?
So we've sent letters to additional bins. There may be foreign bins that we haven't tackled yet.
They're all
So-
council bins, the ones on it.
Yeah.
So the,
Well, what would be helpful if we could have the details of those properties? I mean, we can just go on the data that Salt Lake gives us. They quite explicitly, literally press a button in the truck every time they lift a bin to record the property, record the bin, etc. So that is our best information at the moment. If there are outliers that we've missed, please let us know and we can follow them up. No issue at all.
Or through the chair, refer them to roads and infrastructure
Yeah.
directly.
Yeah.
and I'll just note the point that council, that was definitely in the policy.
Yes.
I can't speak to the current, so I can't remember when I read it, but it was definitely in the policy. So that might be something just to read up on. Councillor Hara, you have the floor.
That's what I wanted to ask. Is it in the policy that I can change my green bin for another red bin?
It was in the policy at a point in time. I can't speak to whether it currently is, but I do recall definitively that it was in the policy.
If it is, it's stupid because it just complicates it, makes it so hard.
Also, you have to pay.
It's ridiculous if it is. It just
Green bin
complicates
today.
it.
Well done, because, you know,
Well,
most businesses don't need a green bin. They've only got the bitumen in the front row and the cement.
I think it's about who pays, isn't it? When it comes to red bins versus green bins.
I think we can explore that further, but I think it's something to be aware of with residents contacting, that if it's in the policy, it needs to be.
Well, aren't we supposed to be doing a review of the waste management?
Yeah, through the chair. Yeah, we are, but we can only, barring going out and walking the streets and knocking on doors, we can operate on the data we get from Solo, which is very good, but there are some gaps. If people are unsure, please, tell them just to call us and we'll talk through them with them.
Well,
Come up with an outcome.
Thank you. Councillor Arthur, further question?
Well, just further follow up on that. The yellow bins are collected in with the normal run of the build from the depots. Are they accounted and council charged for them?
I'm not sure I
Internal.
understand what you're referring to.
So
Yellow.
if I may, and we might have to take this on notice, Councillor Arthur, the recycling that is presented at our depots is placed into a yellow lidded bin.
Yeah.
And I think you were asking Councillor Arthur if they're in the figures.
They
in Rosebank.
they collect the yellow bins only from the depot.
At our waste transfer stations? Or
Yeah, from our waste transfer.
Yeah, okay. I might take that on notice, but I know Travis and team have done a bit of work on that being a bulk bin application, and that's only very recent. So I'll take that on notice, but I can get some feedback for you on that.
Thank you. Any further questions? Councillor Bland, you have the call?
Yes, page 119 of the hard copy, 120, and that is the Canalpan toilets locks and also the vandalism at the caravan park. I've never been in favour of having cameras, but I think I'm starting to lean that way in areas that don't have a lot of passing traffic. And I'm actually thinking that perhaps we're starting to see a lot more vandalism over, not just in Canalpan. And just wondering whether we might want to revisit that issue of whether we should have it. I'm not 100% in favour, but I think there are probably reasons for it.
Through the chair,
Leo has the call.
we're not far off caretaker. CCTV is pretty you know, and you'd have to go out, if you're going to change the policy on CCTV, you'd have to go out to community consultation, so.
So my question would be is how can we move this forward into the second quarter of the new council?
I would suggest you could do something to the effect of a motion from this council recommends that the next chamber, whatever words you want to refer to, next, you know, post elections that the chamber.
Just think we're getting a lot more vandalism. Well,
Yeah.
it appears to be a lot more vandalism, and perhaps it's time we look at specific areas.
Actually, probably the easiest thing to do is a motion with this council to bring forward a review of the CCTV policy to be conducted early 2027. And we can act upon that now. We'll bring that forward in terms of the schedule.
Any further questions?
Just one further, regarding the video that yourself and councillor Roundtree made regarding the changing places toilet facilities. There's a little bit of misinformation in that, is that it infers that it's an open slather, but you don't have open slather to the certain part, the disability part. You must have a code or something to get
That
in.
was very.
No, so
It must be approved.
there's four separate toilet facilities there. There's ambulant, which is open to everybody.
Yep.
Disability, that's open to everybody. Normal toilets that are open to everybody. The changes places aren't, and they've got the key.
Yeah.
And that was made quite clear throughout the video that you had to have a
It's clear.
key.
Oh, I didn't see that in the video.
It was at the end
That's
in the
clear.
last little snippet, so it is
There's
definitely.
quite a few people made a comment on it, that's all, and it's just that it wasn't an open slather.
No,
It's not.
no, it's not. So, but the disability toilet, which is a separate one to the changing places, is definitely open all the time.
Yeah, it was very
Have
correct.
a watch of it again,
Oh.
just watch the whole thing through, see that it's very clearly mentioned in there about key, only giving access to that bit in the middle. Very clearly stated.
Yeah, it was.
That was the whole point of it.
Any further question, councillors?
I just like to make a statement.
Councillor Arthur, you making a member statement?
Contractors doing the Northcott Terrace intersection, absolutely amazing. We've seen a mob get in there and get things done so quick. And looks like, well, because I think I'm nearly glad they finished, because of Vibrile, everybody's house was going like this.
Good to know.
Through the chair, thank you for the feedback.
No.
Thank you. Any further questions, councillors? Councillor Coleman, I believe you were going to move.
Yeah, no, I've had my little say. I'm just looking for a seconder. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor O'Hara, you're seconding. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to the minute action list. Sorry, I've jumped ahead there. Moving on to questions with notice, there are none. Moving on to questions without notice. Councillors, any questions without notice? There are no questions without.
No, I've got one, I just had to find it. In my question to the CEO regarding the CWMS charges and why we hadn't been charging them. And the answer that I got was we will start charging the CWMS in financial year 26-27 as per legislation. Now, if it's legislated, why aren't we doing it, making adjustment for this year? Because it does affect all those people that are paying CWMS charges.
The CEO has a call.
Once you've set your rate in your budget approval, you can't adjust it.
Beg your pardon?
Once you've set your rate in your annual budget and approved that, you cannot adjust that during that financial year.
Even if it's a legislative requirement on council to do those charges.
Same answer.
Okay.
Further question, councillor Arthur?
Yep. Oh, the other one is regarding the peak water scheme. They are subsidised 6,500 kilolitres for use and only pay for any use over that. Does council, which they should and they used to, charge themselves for that, charge the cost of that water and goes in as a income into the CWS for the water scheme at Peak?
I'll go to the director. This was taken on notice and the answer was provided.
What did I answer it? Ultimately.
Bill?
Yeah, through you, Mayor.
The acting director has a call.
We're still looking at the finding product. Essentially, when you roll up all the income, if you regenerate the income from the water and pay the expenditure, it will net out. So essentially, when you're looking for this answer, you're going to look at a netting out effect that's going to occur. In the past, the expenditure's been captured. So expenditure will be inflated, but to the extent of that is what we're still finalising. I don't imagine it will be significantly affect the charging component based on what I've seen so far.
So council is actually paying to that scheme for the up to 6,500 kilolitres.
Yes, so through the chair, the financial modelling is that subsidy isn't borne by the other users of that system. We model on total usage and charge on that, and so whatever's short, yes, council funds, and that's purely due to the Peak Sporting Club and their subsidy up to 6,500 kilolitres.
Because that was brought up some years ago when they first got the subsidy, well before the amount they get now.
Yep.
That is the whole of the council area was subsidising. Otherwise, I was subsidising their own scheme.
Yep.
Further questions?
No, that's all. Thank you.
For the benefit of the public that might be watching, I will just clarify the conversation around the bins earlier. A business is entitled, not a residential, a business is entitled to swap a green bin with permission of council to a red bin. And it's one only. So it's only businesses recognising that they probably don't have green waste, and it does not apply to businesses using en route or bin bank. It is only those within the township boundaries. That's what the current policy says, just to clarify. Councillors, we'll move on if there's no further questions without notice. Last call. Motions with notice, there are none. Motions without notice. Councillors, Councillor Bland.
Yes, Mr Mayor, I've actually got two. This is the first one is in relation to the MRL and Coorong Tourism Alliance funding report and request this morning in this document. I would like to move that the CDC write to MRL and CTA requesting clarification of methodology and costing of the 25,914.13 plus GST. Second dot point is note concern.
Sorry, Councillor Bland, would you mind just repeating that for the purposes of our note takers?
Methodology for costing of $25,914.13 plus GST in brackets as per the report. Second dot point is note concern on the lack of statistics that supports local businesses of all sizes across the Coorong District Council district. That a third dot point.
Just reread second, please.
Sorry, I modified as I went. So
I think we've roughly captured the first, but the second.
concern on the lack of statistics that supports local business of all sizes across the Coorong District Council district. And the third dot point,
Just hold 1 minute, councillor Bland, sorry. Third,
that a response be brought back to the chamber as soon as possible.
councillor Bland, could you just reread the second point, please?
Right, and note concern on the lack of statistics that support local business, of all sizes across the Coorong District Council.
Thank you.
Take out the second district, sorry.
Councillor, I have a motion on the screen. Move councillor Bland. Is there a seconder for the motion? Councillor Roundtree. Councillor Bland, you have the call.
No, I just would like to seek further. I believe tourism is important to our area, as we've already discussed, so I won't go into that. This just helps us get the report and clarify the dollar figures.
Thank you, councillor Roundtree.
Similarly, I think this is an important area of what we do. Tourism, I just want to be making sure that what we're doing is effective and getting to where it needs to go. So I want to see some more detail.
Thank you. Any other councillors wish to enter debate? No. Councillor Bland, you're closed. I'll put the motion as it reads on the screen. All those in favour? Motion is carried unanimously. Councillor Bland, do you have a second motion?
I do, and this is in relation to our CCTV policy. I'd like to move that we bring forward a review of CCTV policy as soon as possible.
Of any policies relating to CCTV?
That would be fine.
Thank you. That one?
Can't even- So,
So the council bring forward a review of the council asset surveillance policy
yeah,
to 2027, is that?
yes.
You can say early 27.
To early 2027. Thank you. Anything further to that motion?
The reason being is.
Sorry, I'll just checking the motion's accurate to your. Yep. Is there a seconder for the motion? Councillor Roundtree, you're seconding. Councillor Bland, you have the call.
I'm finding it a little concerning that we're seeing two things, more and more low-level vandalism across our council area, not just in the larger towns, and also the lack of policing. It is of little value for someone to ring when somebody is smashing a toilet because there is no one.
Thank you, Councillor Roundtree.
Yeah, I was going to say the same sort of thing and just adding, I think this will also perhaps, once we have this information, maybe help strengthen our case to SAPOL for having, more people in this region. And who knows? No, yeah, I know, it's fine, it's fine.
Only try.
But my-
Still funny.
I like to be a comedian. The other thing would be, it would, there is one thing to catch people doing the act. It's another thing to actually get to the point where you can do anything about it. And I think that will also provide a challenge for us, is what do we do with that information when we have it?
Thank
Policy
you.
can handle that.
Any other councillors wish to enter the debate? Councillor O'Hara.
I think it's a good idea, but it'll just give them something else to smash.
That's the worry.
Any other councillors? Councillor Qualman?
Yeah, just a comment. I reckon it's a great idea and I reckon it'll hopefully work as a deterrent and put people off because I don't know about you people, but I'm sick and tired of all our well-paid expensive assets getting wrecked all the time.
Absolutely. We can't afford it.
Thank you. No further councillors wish to enter debate. Councillor Bland, you're close.
Closed.
Put the motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. So is any further motions without notice?
I got one.
Councillor Arthur?
The reference to the CEO's email regarding my question to produce a balanced budget in the 26-27 financial year, what would the rate increase be? And the answer, the rate increase required would be 11.3%. I think that needs to be in the minutes because it's not in the minutes anywhere. It's in the question replies to our meeting, but I think
So councillor Arthur,
community do need to, should be aware of that.
would you be comfortable with the response to that question being captured in the minutes as your motion?
Well, 11.3, yes. I've got to take it as is because we haven't got all the.
Yep. So councillor Arthur's question on notice regarding rate required for a balanced budget.
Rate increase required for, yeah.
Rate increase for a balanced budget
In 26, 27.
in 26-27 be captured in full in response to this motion, in the minutes to this motion or something to that effect. Thank you. So the proposed motion from councillor Arthur is that the response to councillor Arthur's previous question regarding the rate increase required for a balanced budget in 26-27 be captured in full in the council minutes. Is that comfortable with that, councillor Arthur?
Well, where's it going to be?
At this
Captured.
point, at this point in the
Sure,
minutes,
yeah.
I would suggest.
The increase required. The advised increase required was 11.3%.
So councillor Arthur, if I'm reading this correctly, the entire answer to that question would be captured at this point when the minutes are published.
Or as long as it is, because I think.
I'll just check with the governance officer. Are you comfortable with
Yes.
that wording? Thank you. Yep. So it will be captured in full.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Arthur has moved the motion. Is there a seconder for the motion? Councillor Maben is seconding. Thank you. Councillor Arthur, you have the call.
Closed.
I'll just go to Councillor Maben. Do you have to wish to provide any further comment?
Only to, I think it's important that the community realises that an 11.3 rate increase was given the answer to us. So I think this is an important motion.
Thank you.
Do it.
Any other councillors wish to enter debate?
It's just a question. I haven't got the information, just wanting to know what was the reason behind one. Is that to sort of show them that they're getting a good deal now, that it could have been worse? Or is it to then say, this is what we're going to have to put your rates up to get a balanced budget? I wasn't quite sure of the intent behind that question.
Well, the point of the exercise is to let the ratepayer know what they really would have been up for.
So they
It's
can-
all right, like we could, if we wanted to now, go and put $700,000 on the credit card and say we've got a $40,000 surplus, like the federal government and the state government do, in a way. But, like it's 660,000 if we borrow that. That's going to be another $40,000 a year to service that debt, and on it goes.
Differential between the rate increase and the proposed deficit
Well,
is the
6.56, yeah.
is the answer to the councillor Arthur's question. Are there any further councillor O'Hara?
Yeah, I don't see the sense in it really, because we know we're going to put it up 6.5 and we're going to have a deficit at the end of it. So that tells you the answer anyway.
Any further councillors? Councillor Arthur, you'll close.
It's closed.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour of the motion? Voting for the motion are councillor Arthur and Maidment. Those against the motion?
It's out there though.
Voting against the motion is councillor Qualman, Roundtree, O'Hara and Bland. I declare the motion lost. Councillors, any further motions without notice today? There are none. We'll move on to the minute action list. Any questions, councillors? Follow-ups? Thank you. There are none. Councillors, that brings us to our confidential items. For those watching the live stream, please be advised that the meeting is about to move into confidence and the live stream will stop. For those who wish to view the end of the meeting, the video will be available on YouTube after today's meeting.